Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the Democrats' war on gun rights, how they're likely to move forward. We know that they're going to move pretty quickly because, on day one, Biden already, he stopped construction on the oil pipeline that was being built through Pennsylvania. He stopped construction on the border wall, right, at the Mexican border wall. So they're going to move pretty quickly on this stuff. Okay? So where they're going to start, they're probably going to start with ammo control. Okay, they're going to look to stop the online sales because at this point they're fully aware that guns without ammunition are just paperweights. Okay, so they're gonna go after the ammunition. They're going to want to stop the online sales, and then from there they're going to probably also try and push background checks at the point of purchase, right? They're going to force you to go into a store, go through a background check just to purchase ammunition. They might make, like in some states you have to get a card in order, pre-approval from the government just in order to buy ammunition. In some states like New York, you cannot buy ammunition for a gun that's not registered, so that's another thing that they're going to probably introduce down the road. But initially, they're just going to start with the ammo control as far as stopping the online sales, which of course is going to push prices up even a lot higher than where they are now. Okay. Next thing that they're going to go to, and by the way, when I say next, they might very well put this all together, but they're going to give priority because there might be a little bit of negotiating. Because remember, they probably got to get there's probably some Democrats in conservative states that they have to kind of bring along, so they might not get everything passed at once. So they're going to kind of give priority to things and try to get those things passed first. So the next thing they're going to go after is the universal background checks. Or rather, lack of universal background checks is really important to us. It is a low-hanging fruit because I've heard a lot of gun owners say, hey, what's the problem with universal background checks if you can pass a background check? Well, the reason why this is important to us is because the lack of universal background checks gives us deniability. So if at some point down the road, they implement registration and then confiscation, okay, you're in a position to say that you sold your guns when it was legal to do so without going through an FFL. So as of right now, like in my state, you can sell rifles without having to go through a dealer. You can sell them privately. So and you're not required to maintain a record of that transaction. So if at some later point in time they say, hey, we know that you bought certain guns because we saw that you came up on a background check. Where's the gun? I can say that I sold it privately back when it was illegal to do so, and I didn't have to keep a record of that transaction. Okay, so that's why this is important. It's really important because it gives us that deniability. That's also the reason why they want to try and implement universal background checks. Okay, so next on the list is the red flag laws. They want to essentially get people to snitch on each other. So they're gonna. That's something that, again, they see that as a low-hanging fruit because, they're able to push it as, hey, why shouldn't, people that are questionable, have their gun rights restricted? The problem there is that, basically anybody can say you're crazy, and then they're going to use that as an excuse to try and take your guns, especially family members, right? That's a common thing. And this is the point where going forward, you really have to be careful of who you bring into your life. I heard of a recent case where somebody, was, for example, renting out a room in their house to somebody who the guy didn't know that this person was actually a drug dealer who was under investigation. So what happened is at some point the police got a warrant. They came and they searched the house. They had no, as from their perspective, the guy was living in the house, right? Because this wasn't an apartment building. This guy had a room in their house, so they had a warrant to search the whole house. So they found drugs in that guy's room, and then they found the homeowner's guns somewhere else. So from their perspective, you got a house here that's got drugs and guns. Okay, so that's a really expensive mess to try and legally work your way out of. Okay, so be very careful who you bring into your home, who you bring into your life, especially with the women. Right, be careful what girls you bring into your life. Be careful who your girlfriend is. Be careful who your wife is. And I mean, quite honestly, guys, you gotta also, you gotta have a contingency plan, right? You gotta, just like if you're going into a marriage, you have to have a prenuptial agreement, right? Regardless of how much in love you are and how great you think it's going to work out, have a backup plan, have a contingency plan in case things don't work out. Because here's the thing: Democrats really give incentives to women to get divorced. Okay, and the reason is because divorced women, single mothers, generally vote for Democrats, right? So they give as much incentive to women to get divorced because married women tend to be more conservative. They tend to vote conservative. Divorced and single mothers, they tend to vote Democrat. Okay, so they incentivize them. They'll say, hey, divorce that guy, and you can go and you can get child support and alimony payments and all that stuff. Okay, that's part of their plan. It's not an accident. They planned it that way. Okay. So yeah, you really gotta be careful who you bring into your life, because they're gonna come after you with these red flag laws and disarm you that way. Don't tell everybody in your life how many guns you have hidden guns, have decoy guns. Have a backup plan. Okay. Okay, so the next thing they're gonna come after. Okay, now we're starting to get into the equipment here. They're gonna probably go after magazine limits, right? They're gonna first go after that. They kind of have. They've already done it in a lot of states, so they have a. There's basically a precedent for that. They say, hey, they did it in New York, they did it in California, they've done it in New Jersey, so they're gonna basically try and expand that to the rest of the country. They're gonna tell us how great it's working in those states. Right. Then what they're probably going to do is they're going to limit the new sales on magazines. Okay, so they're not going to. I don't think they're going to tell people to turn in their old magazines. They probably will grandfather them in. Now, keep in mind, just because they pass, they push forward some legislation where they're grandfathering it in. Okay, great. I got 100 magazines. I'm set for life. That doesn't mean that the following month some other Democrat won't introduce another bill that's going to now outlaw the old magazines. Okay, so just because they pass a law that says they're grandfathering in stuff that's already out there doesn't mean that they can't quickly pass another law that now bans the stuff that they previously grandfathered. Okay, but initially I think they're going to go after the new sales on magazines. Then they're going to go after the new sales on semi-automatic guns, right? They're going to go after that. And then they'll go after the new sales on parts. Initially with the parts, they're going to probably have it go through a background check, and then at some point they'll ban the parts altogether. So that's how it's usually going to go with the equipment, right? They're going to first ban the new sales, and then at some later point they're going to go after all the stuff that's already out there in circulation. Okay. Now, do I think that they're actually going to go door to door, searching houses? No, they don't have to, because what they're going to do is, at the point that they ban the guns, they ban the ammunition. Once they ban the ammunition, the guns are pretty much paperweights. Okay. This is the process that I see them going through. They're gonna, at some point, obviously they're gonna implement registration. Here's the thing with the registration. When they do implement the registration, you probably want to register some guns, right? So the reason is, here you go. If you got, let's say, like 2 AR-15s, register one. Or if you got 2 Glocks, register one. Hide the other. The reason why I say that is because if you say that, hey, I don't have any guns, once they start gun registration, it's not going to be long before they say, hey, to buy ammunition, or rather you can only buy ammunition for a gun that is registered. So when you go to buy ammunition, they're gonna say, okay, show me your card that shows that you have a registered gun, just like in New York City, right? In New York City, you cannot buy ammunition for a gun that's not registered with the city. So that's why you gotta have decoy guns, you gotta have extra guns, you gotta have a gun that you are willing to register, so that at least for some period of time, you're able to buy ammunition for that gun, and that one gun can feed all the others, and you can continue to build up your inventory. Okay, so that's the thing with the registration. Don't just dismiss it outright. If they pass it, register one AR, one 9mm, one AK, one shotgun, and then keep the others hidden. Okay, so that's not a registration. Eventually, they're gonna outlaw everything, all guns, all ammunition. They'll implement like Australian, British style, an Australian, British style ban, outright ban. Obviously, I don't think they're gonna go door to door. They're gonna let the people basically fight each other and turn each other in. So I mentioned this earlier. Divorce court enforcement. In this country, in the United States, about 50% of marriages end up in divorce. So chances are that if you don't get divorced, your kids who you pass the guns down to, they'll get divorced, right? Because again, they give incentives to women to get divorced. So within 2 generations, the women are going to essentially turn you in. Because they incentivize them, and that's how they'll get the guns. Okay, so that's why you really got to be careful who you bring into your life, and you can't trust anybody. You have to hide guns, right? Hide your guns. Don't let your wife know about all the guns. It's just how it is. I'm not saying don't take her shooting, but just don't let her know where every single gun is, right? And hey, likewise, same applies to her. If she's a gun buyer, she should not tell you where every single gun is. And I think that's a good strategy, right? You buy some guns, she buys some guns, and some of the guns you share, but each of you have some guns that are hidden from each other. Okay, I think that's a good logical strategy. Okay. And then finally, snitch rewards, right? They're going to give incentives to your neighbors. If you got a property that you typically shoot on, if they hear gunfire, they call the police. They'll incentivize them. They'll give them some kind of reward or whatever. So this is what I see going forward. This is how I think this is going to play out. At least some of the stuff up here is going to probably, start happening pretty quickly. Some of the stuff over here is going to happen more slowly over time. How can we stop this? How can we slow it down? We cannot, as far as the gun community, we can't do it ourselves, right? Because us telling them that this is not fair, they're laughing at us, right? Trying to run this through the courts. Let's put it this way: Trump cannot get justice in the courts, right? The Supreme Court wouldn't hear his case. His cases were he was presenting evidence of election fraud. He was videos of ballots being pulled out from underneath a table in suitcases, and the courts were basically telling him that he had no evidence. Okay, so if Trump can't get justice, you're not going to get justice. Okay, so don't expect the courts to help you out on this. You saw how quickly they impeached him in the second impeachment in the House. They did that in about 2 hours. Okay, so no evidence. He said peacefully march over to the Capitol building and let your voices be heard. And they basically turned that into go over there and invade the Capitol building, right? Go riot. That's how they interpreted that. Meanwhile, during the Kavanaugh hearings, right? Democrats were actually telling their supporters to go and riot, to go and to go and occupy these federal buildings. So there's absolutely no justice here. This is reality. How can we slow this down a little bit? The only way that I can see this happening is at some point, pretty quickly, I think, the the socialist leftists within the Democrat Party, okay, are going to start wanting more power, more control. They're going to start fighting with the corporate Democrats. Okay, so we got to get the communist Democrats to fight the corporate Democrats, and the communists at some point are going to do what they've been doing through all of 2020. They're going to start rioting. They're going to start attacking them. They're going to start burning cities. They've done it. There's a precedent for it. They feel comfortable doing it. It's recent in their memory. They'll start doing it again. And then what's going to happen, what I'm hoping happens, is the corporate Democrat, the suburban Democrats are going to be like, holy crap, we need to be able to defend ourselves from these people. And then what we have to do is try to get them over to our side, okay? And we kind of have to go at this with an open mind. We can't be like, hey, you guys, you see how wrong you guys were? That's not going to do it. We need to tell them that, hey, you guys are in danger. This is the solution. You guys need guns. You need lots of guns. You need access to ammunition. You need training. We're on the same side. That's the only way that we win this, or we even just forget about winning. We survive this. Okay, so there are my thoughts on this. This is how I think things are going to move forward. There's only one possible way that all of this does not happen within the next, I want to say next 4 years, but there's a chance that this might happen within the next 2 years. The only way is that the left side Democrat Party, the leftist part starts fighting with the corporate part, and things slow down a little bit. Okay, so drop some comments in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts. If you guys aren't a member, please subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.